Welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to episode 73 of the Stevie Richards Show. Today, we were initially going to call it Bret Hart Goes Wild, but if you're an old enough person to remember, that could be gimmick infringement. So it will be Bret Hart Unleashed. Girls Gone Wild. Don't you remember that?
Yeah, of course I do. But I wouldn't say gimmick infringement. I'd think you're just lifting his top up for beads.
Well, I mean, according to Bret, that might have happened between two people. So let's get into it. Aha. Start off hot. Episode 73, my co-host, James Romero. He had a confused look. That's why I stopped mid-intro to check on him.
Yeah, I was going to say there was something more. There was more weird than gimmick infringement. There was the I don't know. Okay, right.
This thing has you kind of back on your heels a little bit because Bret is always right, and Bret has said some stuff, and you say Bret is always
did he come
right.
out with a couple of perlers on that one? I tell you, my goodness me. Yeah. So this one is now dedicated to Bret Hart. We were actually going to do Roddy Piper Part 2. But then we couldn't ignore how many things that basically we could spin off of this one interview. Plus we wanted to do Bret Hart Part 2. Plus we wanted to do because we had the B-roll ready for 2 weeks of the front turnbuckle bump and how to take it. So kind of all ties in really well. Plus we've got some news as well. But yes, Bret Hart Unleashed, a lot of things that he said in the interview we're going to be scrutinizing, Stevie.
Can we do our initial Bret Hart baiting? Because he's not ever even responded, or we don't even find out if he found out about the clips, but you have the Bret signal, we call it. So you did it on Patreon. You want to do it again?
What was the Bret signal?
Bret Hart sucks.
I forgot it. Oh, was that the signal?
That's the Bret signal. See if we can try to draw him out.
Yeah. Boo.
Boo, Bret. Shawn
Bret's
was better.
still my favorite. But...
Shawn was better. Hogan's a good guy. You go back, Bret. No, it's your title. It'll never get old.
Goldberg was right.
Yes. Goldberg seems like a safe worker.
That'll bring him out of the woodwork if nothing else. Yeah. There's a couple of things here that Stevie's going to be referencing, very much so. Of course, the obvious plus more. Sheamus punches, Jake the Snake Roberts. Modern wrestling as well, that we're going to talk about Bret's comments, if he's right or not. He pretty much is right on that, I think. Okay, let's do the intro quickly. Listmania Wrestling. That is my YouTube channel of one of many that I have. That's all about deep dives, top 10 lists, that kind of thing. Getting great reception so far, building up well. I don't really plug it, but I finally kind of did for the first time because you can do collaborations on YouTube. So I collaborated with myself to reach a bit of a wider audience, and it seems to have worked. Don't ask me how it happens, but it's happened recently. So there you go. PWT's official Stevie Richards Show merchandise, please go over there, as well as Blue World Order t-shirts. I need to actually buy one and then wear it on the show to remind people. Stevie Richards Fitness is on YouTube. He's happy because there's an uptick of people watching it, which is always good to hear. Cameo as well, the Stevie Richards Cameo, one of the most popular people on the entire platform, not just on wrestlers, but of all celebrities on that platform. And the reason is he's way too cheap for the amount of stuff he gives you, and he gives you basically the best cameo that anyone's ever had. So many people say we've had. When I asked this last time, could you put your experiences with the Stevie Richards cameo in the comments? So many people did. Everyone said it was a great deal. And I implore you, especially before Christmas as well, a fine Christmas gift it will make to for your loved one, or basically just treat yourself. I think you should do as well. And the most important plug of all, the Stevie Richards Show Patreon. We just watched Bret Hart and Roddy Piper from WrestleMania 8. That'll be out on this Monday coming. What did we watch this previous Monday just gone, Stevie?
Based off of episode 72, one of my favorite episodes, talking about one of my favorite people, Eddie Guerrero. It was Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. One of them, it was hard to pick which match, but we went with the Halloween Havoc, and it was really basically just time constraints. That's why we chose it. We would have chose Dominic, basically the custody of Dominic match or something from the WWE era, so maybe we'll revisit that again, but it had a great reception for that episode. And just to let everybody know, we still might do it, but I had an opening planned to actually ride in on a lowrider. I had a local person here that we didn't quite connect. That would have made the opening that we did. People appreciated the opening we did about the tribute show to Eddie, but doing that would have been just, man, that would have been really cool. Sorry.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. You were telling me about that in a few days earlier. Was it just you timing was off, or?
Yeah, it just didn't seem to sync up. But initially, that guy got back to me like right away. I sent you the text message.
Yeah,
It was like within a half hour. I was like, oh, we're going to get this thing done in the day and hopefully kind of make it look like the They Live opening. By the way, Roddy Piper Part 2 will be discussing and reviewing They Live as well during that future episode. Take a drink.
Can you find a bank that will let you walk in there with a shotgun to recreate that
maybe
scene
once,
in the bubblegum
just
scene?
once, maybe. That's about, no. That's what the green screen's for. Trust me, I've been testing that out already. I still have the outfit. We will have They Live thumbnails coming basically ad nauseum for the next episode.
Lovely. Right, let's get straight into it. Bret Hart interview. Quite a few points we have to make. Let's go for the headliner.
No, the notes, you gotta read it verbatim on the notes. How did you title it?
Shawn gay for Vince.
No, before that. Yeah, well, there we go. No, Bret Hart
crazy interview.
He was he does the most relaxed I've ever seen Bret, as a matter of fact. Strange.
It was crazy entertaining, if nothing else. Right, while speaking to the Johnny I Pro show, I think it was, it's like kind of like a niche YouTube channel, but it seems to be a live event kind of thing. Anyway, Bret Hart talked about his experience with Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels, as he believed that there was something going on between the two of them. So here are some quotes.
I remember watching it and going, I think there's more going on here between these two guys. Honestly, and I'm not trying to be, I'm just being honest and blunt, but I don't know. I suspected, and now I really have serious, I think that Shawn and Vince were sleeping with each other. I'm just telling you, I think I'm very close to the truth here. Shawn and Vince were lovers, and that's why I'm being dead honest, and I'm telling you.
We all know what the H stands for.
I just, when I look back, it's like, I got caught between two lovers. And I got shafted and screwed over.
That's a bad choice of words. I got shafted.
And Shawn was so envious and jealous of my position that he finally had to sleep with Vince to get it. And I tell you, I say all this with absolute, I would say it to Shawn if he was right here. I would actually like to have Shawn come clean and say, look, we were lovers. Because I'm sure they were. I have an absolute 100%. If I saw either Vince or Shawn here, I would say I think you guys were lovers.
Shawn and Vince were lovers. Okay, now obviously I guess you weren't looking through a keyhole or anything, Stevie, but was this a rumour when you were in the WWF at the time, like so many others?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, not anything that was so prevalent where people brought it up, but it came up once in a while as far as a part of urban legend, I guess. With that, there is a shoot interview that precedes this one, too, as a matter of fact. I was reminded by Vince Russo yesterday when we were recording. The more recent one was King Kong Bundy saying the same exact thing. Then if you go way back, the Road Warriors did a shoot interview, and I think that video is still up on YouTube, where actually the Bundy interview was Vince Russo interviewing King Kong Bundy. Excuse me. But the Road Warrior one was from way back. I think it's our video one. And that's where Hawk said that Vince and Shawn had a CMB contract, if you know what I mean.
What were your thoughts on? What are your memories of Shawn being gay with Vince?
My memory, I have no memories of that.
I'm doing the RF video.
Yeah.
I'm doing the RF video.
So I just really, when I see that, first and foremost, it's just like, is there any kind of, I think the most important question to ask is, because we're analyzing this and just kind of looking at it for what it is there going to be any kind of defamation lawsuit with this, any kind of legal stuff from Vince, from Shawn, from both, from WWE? I mean, he still has some ties, even what the eye roll with Triple H, them taking his chair away at SummerSlam or not offering him a seat. Was it SummerSlam or a convention?
No, SummerSlam.
Yeah. So with all this, there's still somewhat of a tie-in between WWE, which Shawn works for NXT right now, and he's Triple H's closest friend. Then you have Bret saying this after the eye roll and everything from SummerSlam. Could this be where WWE cuts ties with him? Or, like I said in the initial question, is this a lawsuit waiting to happen? But I look at this and it's just like, for anybody out there too that thinks, is so naive to think there's no casting couch in professional wrestling, or that the casting couch only works male to female. You know, hey, yesterday the guys joked with me and said, you know, did you and Vince ever have anything? I was like, if I did that and that's the push I ended up with, man, I got the, pun intended, short end of the stick, didn't I? What a rib on me. No, I did not. But there is, if anybody, and also if anybody thinks, you're going to have a quote from Scott Hall in a few seconds or a minute, but if anybody thinks that Vince is not a weird maniac, like he had some kind of proclivity to put me in a wig, put me in a dress, and they pulled granny panties out of his suit jacket like he carried it everywhere he went. He showed these kinds of things and probably 100 others that are a part of all those NDAs. This is the part where he had the fecophilia as well, right? He had a fetish for that. So the thing with Vince is just a weird dude, allegedly.
Allegedly. For what it's worth, Chael Sonnen also claimed he'd heard it. This is the guy who claims that he's in the business and never had a wrestling match as well. But he said that, like, he heard 11 people slept with Vince and 8 of them were women. I just had to throw that quote out there. But, I mean, it's not even the fact that is Vince gay or not, or bi or not. It's just that, like, these rumors have been going around, and I think everyone for decades will have just chalked it clearly up to jealousy. But because Vince, once again, all these proclivities and the non-disclosure agreements, and that weird story with Scott Hall that we'll get into in a minute as well, now I think people are thinking, it's not impossible.
Well, if we focus on Vince a little bit here, there is that Playboy interview a long, long time ago where he talked about his upbringing and certain kinds of abuse growing up. I mean, he was definitely somebody that had some trauma as a child. And he was passed around. Flex went to military school and everything. That's what he called himself, Flex, back then. So, yeah, you got to get a shot at James off that reaction, Chris. But you got to think that Vince, and then getting into the carny world of pro wrestling, and then not having any checks and balances, morality-wise, and everybody is surrounding yourself by yes men, and you can do no wrong. And we see that growing and growing and growing as time went on with Vince. My question is now in 2025, and then we can go to the quotes, and I'll probably repeat this question. Does it really matter now? Should it really matter now? Should anybody even care?
Do you know what? I think it's because some people are looking for answers, or I think it's because some people are looking for a reason why Shawn was favoured more than others. Because I guess Shawn, and I know you'll know this from personal experience, Shawn was a complete nightmare. And maybe not in the 90s, you'll know this, although in the early 2000s when he was like really deep into drugs, that's a problem as well. But in the 90s, the story we constantly get is that he was a nightmare to work with as far as who he wanted to work with, and, you know, always politicking for himself and surrounding himself with
Shane
friends
Douglas
to
is
get,
a
you
pure
know,
example, probably the best example of how Shawn can destroy a career.
I'm glad you mentioned Shane, because this isn't to do with Shawn, it's to do with Pat Patterson. Shane told me on a podcast, so it's not telling any tales out of school. He said that Pat once grabbed him in a way that clearly wasn't, maybe it was horseplay, but it was kind of crossing the line for Shane, and he either shoved him away or whatever it was and yelled at him and said, "Don't ever touch me like that again." So when you say that there was definitely a casting couch culture, I mean, the Mel Phillips thing with the Ring Boys is one thing. I mean, it's the worst thing because they're adolescents. But which are still going through the courts in Maryland, so I understand. But there was also the Terry Garvin thing, and also other accusations from Pat Patterson where they say they rebuffed advances from the both of them, and then they found themselves at the bottom of the card losing or not booked at all. Jim Powers alleges that. Other people have alleged that as well.
And Paul Roman backs that up on his YouTube channel from a while ago as well. Also, Rita, I can never pronounce her last name, Rita Chatterton.
Chatterton. Yes.
Yeah, there's direct still accusations against Vince about that.
Yeah, she was paid off. She was one of the recipients of a payoff in the NDA. In the flurry of NDAs, I should say.
It's a whole lot of coincidences, or it's not coincidences at the same time. But I would go to the Scott Hall thing because we can kind of speculate and do everything like that. But these are direct quotes from Scott when he met with Vince.
Scott Hall, this is when Vince McMahon was pitching an idea to feud Razor Ramon with Goldust. Scott, this is the quotes. He goes, "Let me tell you about my first homosexual experience. And I remember sitting, me and Kevin Nash, were both sitting in Vince's office at TV. I looked at Kevin, and my first thought was, as opposed to your most recent, like you and Warrior on a bearskin rug?" He was talking about when he was living in North Carolina and was hitchhiking one time. And I don't know anything about Vince's past, but I'm thinking hitchhiking from where? The pool to the country club? He said some guy picked him up and was like rubbing his hand on his leg. I'm thinking, okay, now you told me, what does this have to do with wrestling? But I remember being really resistant to it. This is the Goldust feud again. That wasn't the way we were doing business. So it's kind of a weird thing for Vince to, I guess, launch into that as like an opening gambit to convince Scott Hall to work with Dustin.
Yeah, it's a weird pitch for a wrestling angle to say, let me tell you about mine. Unless he was saying, hey, it was okay with me, it should be okay with you. So, and these are different times, by the way. That Goldust character was so far ahead of its time, lost a ton of advertisers and sponsors. And then, of course, Razor Ramon was going to be the first major feud for that Goldust character. And then they did some tweaks. These are people that know Goldust and Dustin Rhodes today, don't know about the controversy of the debut and the vignettes and everything of that character and how it really, really pushed a lot of buttons.
Yeah. With Razor as well, with Scott Hall as well, because I think his argument was, my son Cody's like 10 years old. How am I supposed to explain this to him? And really, it's a very family-friendly product.
Yeah, it's a very excellent question. You can accuse the Click and Scott or anybody of just trying to hold talent down and keep them back, which Shane Douglas once again, and other people, Bam Bam Bigelow, people that have accused them of doing that. But in this case, he has a viable, I guess, objection to it or question, at least, to say, but I have a family, I have a kid, I have a son. How are we gonna translate this when I go home and he's watching me on TV, having some dude rub my, because Goldust would do the thing to go behind with the waist lock, rub the chest, and do all that stuff.
The Pat Patterson go behind, as Gorilla Monsoon might say.
Well, right then, hey, listen, there's always been the commentary type of jokes and aha, wink, wink, nudge, nudge about the history of these acts and these things that are going on. You listen to that commentary from Gorilla, Heenan, even sometimes Vince and other people, you would hear little Easter eggs and little jabs about those things.
So Bret is now, we should also mention, I don't think this is out of school for me saying this, but this is a guy who's had a lot of head trauma and significant strokes and stuff like that. And it's one thing that we've said, like he's got a fixation on Goldberg, which, I mean, he did end his career and stuff like that. But once again, he's been really, really badly injured over the years. And I guess with brain trauma as well, it can kind of affect your thought process. I'll give you an example. Someone ended up in a coma. I can't remember why. It's like a friend of a friend. And he woke up from it, from whatever brain trauma it was. This is going to be very vague, so I don't want it to get back to who I'm talking about. He ended up having a complete 180 switch in his thought processes. Like, completely. From the minute he woke up, and he's not changed since. And I'm not saying that's the same with Bret. I'm saying, like, there's little things like, you can become fixated on stuff. He seems more angry towards Goldberg, for example, over the time. And now he's sort of buying into this is a conspiracy theory because there's still no proof of it whatsoever, apart from some rumors. But, I mean, does Bret deserve some latitude, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, at this point, but really, when he spoke in the interview, and everybody will link the interview below, so you can watch it, it just doesn't, he still seemed very lucid and very coherent, recall other things. I mean, maybe the other hint of his, and it's just me splitting hairs because I watched it and you noted it in your video, he did not even sell one of his funniest promos ever, one of his funniest lines ever, when people were shouting about him and El Dandy. You said he no-sold that. I watched him. It was like his thought process, like you said, he's so fixated on this that, but he's always been a fixated type of person. This Bill Goldberg, I got to say it like that from now on. This Goldberg thing has been something he's fixated on. So Bret is also, in a positive way, fixated about being the best, fixated about having the perfect match. I don't know. It didn't seem like he was all over the place. Like if someone's thought process was completely thrown off from a stroke, cognitive decline, stuff like that, they would have very incomplete sentences, be very hurried and very uncomfortable and fidgety. But he couldn't have been, that's the most relaxed I've seen Bret in a while.
Hey, I mean, he was a lot closer to the situation than you or I, so I guess he'd have more of an idea, if nothing else. I'll get back to Shawn in 1 second. Because you mentioned the L. Downey
I want to say
thing,
this too, if I could say it real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. Once again, too, and people know about my personal differences and issues with Shawn and Hunter and other people, but specifically with Shawn. Shawn has a family. Shawn has kids. Shawn has a kid, I think, that started wrestling. His daughter started wrestling. So, there's that Scott Hall effect too. Like you're going to have your kids asking, what's this all about? So it creates a very uncomfortable thing. And then, we're talking like 20, 30 years ago almost when, if it's done, it's done. I'm not saying like it's such a touchy thing, once again, bad choice of words, such a touchy subject, but it's like in my thought process now in 2025, it's like, why would Bret bring this up? Like you said, except to, in his mind, explain in his mind or other people's why Vince picked Shawn almost all the time over Bret in these cases.
Yeah, I wonder if it's ever been suggested to Bret that Vince saw him as someone in his late 30s and he did the same to Hogan, he did the same to Savage, he did the same to Jake maybe, he did the same to Bob Backlund, he did the same to everybody around
Hogan.
that age. I said Hogan first.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, my thought process is bad.
Yeah,
too.
but he's like 38 or late 30s or something, and in Vince's mind, he washed up. So maybe that's why he picked Shawn over Bret, even though Shawn was a big pain.
Well, it could be this too. Yeah, the outside the ring thing makes the urban legend kind of gain a little bit of credibility, right? Because he really was. It's not like football where your performance and everything else can kind of temper off your attitude and the problems you create. Business was down at this particular point until the Attitude Era, right? It was still trying to come up, and then WCW beat them for 83 weeks. So Shawn nobody was necessarily drawing enough until they really kicked it in the gear with the Attitude Era. Am I off base with that? That business was down even with Shawn as
97. In 97 they were claiming they were taking the water coolers out and regressing to a regional outfit.
No, they really weren't taking
is,
the water coolers out. That was a fact.
Here's the thing. Here's the fact of the matter, is that before Bret left, business had started going up significantly before Bret had left. And then they had the amount of money to pay Mike Tyson. Which I know we talked about this before, but it just sounds like, buddy, Vince made up his mind. Regardless of what him and Shawn were up to or not up to, Vince had made up his mind that Shawn was the guy and that you were yesterday's news. And that's, whether right or wrong that thought process, and I think it's unbelievably wrong because Bret had his best ever year that year. He had so much more to give. But trying to put myself in one of Vince's three brains, I figured that's probably ultimately his thought process. Shawn was like, 5 years younger? Then he get injured immediately.
Well, also, we did the comparison about who was better, and we talked about styles. Maybe, because now we can appreciate Bret just like we appreciate Fit Finlay, appreciate Regal, appreciate all these people from the past in 2025. But at the time, Shawn obviously was a lot more flamboyant than Bret, a lot more over the top, looked like a sports entertainer, where Bret was more sports-based. Of course, he put on very entertaining, engaging matches with great psychology. But if you look, even with the similar size, you would see Shawn's entrance, the music, the dancing, the high flying, all that stuff. Maybe it was just kind of like a new toy to Vince in a way, and therefore he's better. And then you factor in the age difference, and you're like, I can get another 5 years out of this guy and then find the next guy to replace Shawn. So it could be as simple as that. Like you said, age, maybe style. And then like Bret, maybe he felt the pressure of that too. Because like you said, that angle between Bret in the U.S. and then he's a babyface in Canada and then the Hart Foundation, Bret's promos even in the wheelchair, everything Bret did, maybe that was the pressure that brought the best out of Bret in that year. And that's why it was probably his best year ever in his career.
One more thing, then we'll just bring it back to Shawn one last time. What are the names? Because you mentioned someone shouted out El Dandy, and he probably just didn't hear it. Somebody shouted out Dean Malenko, and Bret went, nah, let's leave Dean at home. He was like happy to, like Lance Storm, he was like, yeah, that could have been okay. And, AJ Styles, yeah, definitely. Dean Malenko went, no. And I think that's so bizarre. Because I think loads of people would have thought that was a dream match, but Bret looks at Dean and goes, no, not interested.
Well, also, knowing the way Dean was and maybe still is, he could have rubbed Bret the wrong way with some of the ways he talks and approaches people. Could be a personality conflict. But that never stopped Bret. I mean, if that was the case, he would have never had one match with Shawn Michaels. I take it back.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Do you think the Vince McMahon, Shawn Michael rumors have any real credence? Do you think they're true, or do you think they're made up by people who are jealous of Shawn's push?
I honestly don't know. I know that's an in-between answer. I don't know. And number two, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care because neither here nor there, whatever, that kind of stuff exists in all walks of life, unfortunately. Everybody thinks it's just relegated to Hollywood or maybe the music industry. But even in corporate America and everywhere, maybe even small businesses, it's happening everywhere. That kind of quid pro quo, if I can pronounce it, Philly accent. Aha, almost got it. But that happened everywhere. It's a tale as old as time, especially in pro wrestling, whether it's territories, global brands, whatever it might be. I'm sure there's plenty of stories over in your area. I mean, outside of the Jimmy Savile stuff, which was the worst. But there's plenty of people that have been involved in that kind of action.
Let's move on. So Bret Hart then discusses Sheamus's punches. Here is the quote.
I see guys throwing punches and they open their hand at the last second and slap the guy and then close it by the time they pull back. Who's that Irish guy? Sheamus does those all the time. And whenever I see him, I'm like, why don't you take 10 minutes and go down and have someone teach you how to throw a punch instead of throwing that embarrassment of a punch.
So that's a damning piece of rhetoric from Bret there. He is not happy with that specific way that Sheamus punches. Is it worth you demonstrating, or is it better for you to show on the B-roll what Bret means?
Yeah, I'm going to show you that. I'm going to actually be an impromptu smartboard segment, but I think it's what went right with Sheamus because I disagree with Bret. Now, I'm not saying that Sheamus punches don't hurt. That's probably, if it's that part, I agree with Bret. To make it look really good without hurting anybody. But at the same time, a match that I somehow missed was him, Sheamus, versus Gunther, Clash at the Castle. What is up with my accent today? I'm going to bring it up before I mispronounce any more words. But this here, I love the psychology of this, by the way, and the setup and the psychology of them at the beginning of this match. The setup is they stand face to face, almost like the Simpsons episode with that guy in the middle. And all the people, the seconds, the teams, Imperium, and then the guys that were with Sheamus, Pete Dunne, and who was the other guy that was with him? Ridge Holland, all brawling on the outside. And they're stoic, just standing there. And we're picking this up right now where basically Sheamus and Gunther go for it. You were excuse me, his name. Takayama. The opening, this is kind of a tribute to that. And maybe just a little bit less stiff in a way. But we're talking about Sheamus's punches. I think Sheamus having that big clubbing style is really, really good. So let's go right here. Let's play. Boom. There's one punch right there. I'm going to back it up, slow it down. And let's What's wrong with that? He hits him semi-hard in a safe place. I think that's really good. So as we move forward, I just like the whole thing right there. Now I'm going to say this: the sound's not turned on at all. The Sheamus does the Lawler kind of half palm slap to your stomach, which makes a really good sound. It's open. Go slow here. Boom. See, man, and I like that too. Do you like that? Like they're trying to measure it's not just the interval of you, one for me, one for you. It's literally just kind of very right there. Look at those punches. I love his stomach punches too. I don't like taking them. I took them FCW. We had one match. Watch this. Boom. That's right there. Boom. I like the fact that he's mixing up the forearms, the punches, everything like that. I don't think they look weak or sloppy. I think this is just kind of a struggle of a fight. But look, I mean, Gunther giving it back to him. This first 2 minutes of this match is, whoa, that's a live round. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, is he even opening his hand for the head punches, is my question.
No, they're formed. They might be opened up a little bit, but they're more of a rubber mallet. We'll go back to the first one. Here's the first one. Slow it down. Hey, it's kind of a club. It's a big club, and I don't want to be in it. Boom. It's more like a temple, side of the head, ear punch right there. But it's really, I'd have to disagree with Bret. I don't know if he just watched one match in particular, but here it comes out with the real stomach punch right there. That's not selling. Now, what's wrong with that? He fist with a club to the back of the neck.
Yeah, Bret doesn't know who MJF is, so it cannot have been in the last 5 years that he saw.
Well, wait a minute. I would counter that because he did the belt presentation where MJF came out and cut a promo at the first Double or Nothing, right?
I know he did the belt presentation. Was it to MJF?
But MJF came out on the stage and said he didn't know who Bret was. Or he goes, "Oh, Bret, a fan. Ha ha." Remember? He trolled Bret with that. That was like right after the fan attacked Bret at the Hall of Fame. Man, he came out on the stage, cut a promo. Bret's got the belt, or made the presentation. And he goes, "Oh, Bret, look out, a fan." Aha, and laughed. I don't know if I'm mixing up two different but he's had TV with MJF. I think he was just trying to be funny.
I'm wondering that as well. But he's so damn dry, you can't even tell. You can't even tell. Well, the point is, if he doesn't know who MJF is.
Him and MJF, for all we know.
Yeah, well, that being said, then, let's assume he doesn't know who MJF is, even though he's worked with him. And let's say that Bret hasn't watched any wrestling in at least 5 years. Can you pull up some video of, I don't know, Sheamus and Triple H from like 2010 or something? And maybe we can work off something. We can see maybe if his punches have changed markedly since then. And also, if he's working with Triple H, he'll be extra safe.
I think he punches him once right here. There. Now, I'll say this. He definitely, Gunther and him were throwing a lot of live rounds. He took care of Hunter. He did that little where you almost punch your hand as you're grabbing the hair. That's what he did there. He kind of like grazed him. With Gunther, he literally is just like either ear punching him or temple punching him or doing whatever with Hunter. And I only seen this punch and maybe a couple others from this match. This is WrestleMania. So, yeah, look at that punch right here coming up. Very light. Yep, he definitely took care of his friend and the upcoming boss.
I still say this. I don't know, maybe some B-roll to add in, but Steve Austin did that at times. He would throw the punch and then open his hand at the last second.
Rocky. Absolutely Rocky, number one. Open-handed, spit, boom, and almost like an open-hand slap to the head. So I don't know why Bret somehow just gets these thoughts of saying, that's the guy I'm going to say is no good this time. Now this guy is no good. And then surprisingly talking about how great Roddy Piper was. Where like technically Roddy Piper, he proved it in that WrestleMania 8 match that, like, I was like, man, he's really keeping up with a style that you don't really see too often from Piper. So it's pretty amazing. And let's just have respect factor. He was a veteran. Bret was making his way up. This is when he was Intercontinental Champion, lost it to the Mountie, which we told the whole story about that his paranoia thought he was never going to be pushed again after that. He thought it was a rib.
The way that Bret explains how he did his punches was essentially he would throw the punch, for the most part, gauge the distance with one hand, throw the punch with the other, but then he would twist his hand at the last second. He'd hit them with the softer part of the hand there. So basically it was a rubber mallet, as you would say, but it's not like one right on top. It's a swiping one where people did complain that he was stiff, but, they never ended up with a bruise or anything. You knew you were in a match kind of thing. But there's more than one way to skin a cat here, surely, with punches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I did on the previous channel, about 30, 40, I could do an hour talking about different styles of punches, everything from the rubber mallet to the person that ear punches, to the Bobby Eaton with the slap underneath, uppercut. There's all sorts of things. And then there's the people, and I believe maybe Bret phrased it the wrong way, because when I watch Sheamus work, he's a brawling brute. They call them the brawling brutes. Sheamus's strongest strikes, what's the most over strike that Sheamus does?
The forearm.
The forearm when he has him over the ropes. Sheamus's forearms, the clubbing blows, he doesn't need to throw a punch. If Bret said that, hey, dude, you can stand out by not throwing a punch at all. Club, maul, do all that stuff. That's within his character. I understand that. Maybe that's what Bret was kind of trying to say. Hey, Bret, if you need an interpreter, just call us up. I can't even interpret my own stuff sometimes, too.
No, if you need PR, public relations, sort of like to spin after the fact.
So his brother Bruce, see, I got the name right. He needs a good PR agent. My brother Bruce, who doesn't know anything.
Bret Hart on Jake Roberts. Now, I think before we go into this, how many times you met Jake over the years? Just conventions, or was he ever in WWE when you were there?
No, I was around him a lot more at DDP Yoga when I lived in Georgia.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course you were. Did you talk much
That was a
wrestling?
Chinese restaurant on Thanksgiving where he told a story that pretty much you heard the record scratch in the restaurant. Everybody just stopped.
Is this a story you're going to repeat?
No, I told it before when he told the whole story it was like a Dark Side of the Ring episode where he told the whole story about the sister, about Grizzly, about all this stuff. And I'm like, and this is literally the first time I ever heard any of this.
Did you continue eating after? Or were you sort of just put off?
I just said, let's get it to go. Aha.
Bret
He
says
was wondering
that
why I did that in a restaurant. I've been doing that for years.
Bret Hart said that Roddy Piper passed the torch.
Roddy knew how to make a hero, and I was trying to, in those days, trying to climb up to the next level. And Roddy was really the first guy to reach down and pull someone like me up to the next level and pass that torch. In contrast to guys like Jake Roberts and Hulk Hogan, who never passed the torch to anybody. All they did is take and take and take and never ever help anybody. Two of the biggest pieces of shit in wrestling.
Well, I hadn't realised that... Okay, so apparently Jake had said something about Bret and Shawn being like two of the worst champions ever. But he didn't... I'm not really sure he qualified it. I don't know where the original quote from that comes from. And Bret says, well, I wasn't the greatest drawing champion, but I was this, and this. So apparently there's some beef, I guess, between Jake and Bret that's developed over the last few years where they're talking about each other publicly. But what do you think about that with Jake and him never passing the torch to anyone? Was he even in a position to pass the torch to anybody?
Well, I think the only person I can think of that he passed the torch metaphorically to was Taker at WrestleMania. When Taker kicked out of the DDT and then Taker won that match. I mean, it was by countout, correct? So it wasn't even a pin. Or no, he rolled him in and pinned him. I'm sorry. So that's what I would say, but that's a whole bunch of different circumstances that he was leaving for WCW or he was promised the book during the time of Pat Patterson. So that would be the only thing. Jake never got the torch passed to him to a degree either, because wasn't Hogan supposed to put over Jake, or they did a snake pit episode and they were cheering Jake and booing Hogan, and then Vince said that's the end of that.
Do you know who else they did that with? Surprisingly, but it was in Canada, in fairness, Dino Bravo.
Oh, wow.
They were gonna set up a match between the two of them. Then they found that Dino was getting more cheers than Hogan was in certain markets. They never went with it.
I mean, you have to understand the vision. You got to stick with Hogan. Back then, it's not like, oh, we'll switch the title every 3 to 6 months or anything. Hogan was the guy for many, many years. And of course, Hogan never really, I don't know. This to me, if you want to use kind of an NFL, American football type thing, this is like when Aaron Rodgers was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre was still the starter. Aaron Rodgers didn't start for like 2 or 3 years. And even today, when Brett Favre is interviewed, they were like, why didn't you help Aaron Rodgers? He was like, my job was to keep my job and be the starting quarterback. My job was not to mentor or teach. Now, I have a different philosophy on that, obviously. But that could be, and you talk about the ultimate independent contractor job in pro wrestling, where once you get knocked down, especially today, you're really never going back to that spot. So there was a lot of spot protection back then. Maybe Jake was one of those people too. And the only thing Jake had to do, we could say, what was the personal issue? Was it something with his family, with the Harts? Because these are multi-generational families in professional wrestling. All he had to say was he was a bad champion. And that's enough to piss Bret off. Do you agree? That's all he had to say.
Goldberg was right.
What's that?
Goldberg was a safe worker.
Read that. Let's check the comments, see what Bret says.
Hey, Dutch said this yesterday, because I brought this up to him and the whole passing the torch thing, and he just said, that's a load of crap. I never heard that until way into my career, this whole passing the torch thing. We were all just trying to get paid back then. You know, they were treating pro wrestling like a job. They weren't treating pro wrestling like, you know, trying to revere the business and leave it better than, you know, what they left it. They were trying to get themselves paid and feed their families kind of thing. And I thought that was almost a really refreshing take on the idea that the whole passing the torch thing almost came. I don't know if it came from dirt sheets or maybe it started around Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan, but it definitely permeated people's brains more with Bret and Shawn in Montreal, because, you know, Vince giving that whole the time-honored tradition line where he's trying to skirt around the thing where it's like, well, he was meant to lose. None of this is real. But what do you think of the passing of the torch situation?
Well, I'd have to agree with Dutch. I mean, this is a meritocracy, or at least it's supposed to be. Bret doesn't think so. He has an alternative theory on getting to the top at WWE back then. But yeah, that's what it is. And obviously, wrestling's different than football and different than so many other sports or even Hollywood in a way. It's very cooperative. So you do need to count on the other person to do the right thing, protect you, and everybody needs each other to get over to a certain degree. You can get over with promos, with character, with vignettes, but eventually you're going to have to step in the ring with somebody who wants to cooperate and do the best thing for you as well as themselves. And sometimes it's 100% doing the best thing for you and 0% doing the best thing for them. The exchange for that person is money. And that's what Dutch is saying. No matter where you're at on the card, all you're trying to do is make the most amount of money, get out of this thing with some of your health, hopefully most, never all for any of us, and then move on. The torch doesn't get passed. Somebody actually gets more over maybe at a younger age and takes your spot. That's kind of the way it should be.
So you spent time around Jake, not in a wrestling capacity, but with the DDP yoga thing. How good was Jake? I mean, I don't know if you can only talk about this as a fan of his, or if you ever did any kind of like pro wrestling working out or talk about psychology or anything else with Jake, but how good was he, in your opinion?
Well, I only know from Raven. Now, being around him in the DDP yoga environment, didn't talk much about psychology, wrestling. I was on the back half of him, or back 2 to 3, 4 years of my career too. So I was trying to look forward and not trying to just sit under the learning tree. But Raven on many, many car rides, Raven in many match situations, promos, psychology, anything with pro wrestling back in ECW. He'd always reference Jake Roberts. DDP learned from Jake Roberts. So DDP, Raven, and probably a few other people wouldn't be the workers they became without Jake leading by example, or with Scotty and Paige mentoring them to a certain degree. So, and he was going to get the book from Pat. They were grooming him in a way for that. He had the mind for Vince to think this is the guy. And the Demons took over. If the Demons never took over with Jake during that time, he probably would have been on the booking committee, been writing, and we might have a completely different WWE today.
I think Jake's story is that Vince just decided not to hire him as a booker, and that's why he ended up quitting WrestleMania 8. He refused to go out there until Vince basically gave him an unconditional release, I think, or something similar.
And then he thought he was getting money from Watts, and then they cut his pay when he got there, right?
No. He thought he was getting money from Kip Fry.
Oh, I'm sorry, for Kip Fry, but it was Watts.
Yeah, then by the time he went over, Watts was there and said, I'm not paying you $2 million or whatever it is you're asking for. Then he goes to WCW briefly and then disappears. And I think that's the other point, is that he was never in a position to pass the torch because, one, he was never on top in that sense. But two, by the time it was torch passing time, he, with all his extracurricular activities, had kind of washed himself out of the business.
Yeah, it was definitely something to where he did that to himself. Now, Vince, a wrestling promoter not going through with a promise, the shock and awe in me right now. But it seemed like that was the linchpin that everything, and I don't know what Jake's use or demons were before that. I'm sure there was stuff going on, but that could have been the catalyst that basically made Jake not give a you-know-what anymore. And then pile on, he thinks he's getting life-changing money from Kip Fry, Bill Watts, who his job was to cut everybody's money. And here we are. And then after that, it's literally a Beyond the Mat, episode with him.
Do you know who Jake put over that I think people forget about? I mean, there was The Undertaker, obviously at WrestleMania 8, as you said. Conan in Mexico. He lost a hair versus hair match to him in 94.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So they shaved Jake's head?
It didn't take long, but yes, they did.
Wow. But he still had the long hair in the back.
No, he was bald, I think, when he was in Smoky Mountain. Like, he very briefly turned up in Smoky Mountain, and maybe that was after the head shave, but he did lose a hair versus hair match versus Conan.
Oh, I didn't know that. Might have to watch that one if it's on YouTube.
It is, indeed.
Maybe next week. Turkey might like that.
Turkey might like that, indeed. One other thing that I guess Turkey quite likes is, I don't know if he likes modern wrestling, but he sure loves, or the Saudi Sports Authority or whoever's in charge of booking WWE to come over and pay them ridiculous amounts of money, are stars from the past. And I guess the reason is, in their mind, is that, they were all kids or a lot younger and they want to see the stars of the past in the Attitude Era and whatnot, and they're not as enamored with the stars of today. And I guess that goes on to Bret's point about modern wrestling. Here's the quote.
I'll be honest, I have a hard time watching today's wrestling. I just can't really watch it. It's too fake for me. Yeah, but I love watching the old 90s wrestling. I really do. Like, when I watch my matches back, or just in almost any match, even obscure Stampede wrestling matches, there's something about the realism, the punches and the kicks, and even just the way the presentation is. It just seems to me to be more onus put on the workmanship of learning the craft of being wrestlers. I think that today's wrestlers are actors. Most of them are actors pretending to be wrestlers. And, they don't actually know how to wrestle, and they don't even know what a headlock is. Like, everything is a high spot. Everything is high spots. Like, I want to get my move in. It's like, I don't know, I always thought wrestling needed to actually pretend to be wrestling. And I miss the wrestling aspect and the psychology of the 60s and 70s wrestling, like the presentation of trying to, pretending that it's a real sport and a real, if you watch Ricky Steamboat, that's what I like about Ricky Steamboat as an example. He was always a guy that he walked always one in his eyes and his expression and the way he wrestled. It was like a contest, and he made wrestling to me seem real.
No, I totally agree that the current product is very, very tough to watch, almost to the point where, like, we have what went right. When it's something little like that, and you just, even the Sheamus Gunther match, that has a throwback kind of feel to it, a big fight feel. And obviously they're being pretty rough with each other. But the struggle, I think Bret's talking about, everything just feels, as far as them being actors, they're not very good actors either. So they should just be wrestlers. We saw Piper and Hart on the Patreon watch along before the WrestleMania 8 match. That felt every bit as real. No fancy camera cuts, just a studio with a WrestleMania backdrop, Gene Okerlund in the middle, and you can cut the tension with a knife. I could feel the tension. I wanted to see the match, and I had already seen the match. So it's just such a weird thing, and they weren't acting. It was based on realism. And I think what they're talking about now from the NXTs, Performance Center, all that stuff, and they tell you who you're going to be, and don't sit down, get to know you, and see who you are and who you could be turned up to 11. That's pro wrestling. So yeah, it's tough to watch. Why do you think most of our watch-alongs are stuff from the 80s and 90s? You even said it's not even your era, and you enjoy watching that as well.
Yeah, I said that, there are people out there, I always have to mention Dave Meltzer when he's wrong, which is frequently, and his argument is, well, you're just stuck in the past, and you can't let go of what it was, and wrestling these days is so much better for so many reasons. Yes, are there things in the past that, were better than there is now? Yes, there were, like the promos. But on the whole, everything's so much greater now. It's like, no, it isn't. It doesn't resemble pro wrestling that I grew up with. But the fact is that I liked wrestling from before I was born. So you can't argue with me on the case that it's the wrestling I grew up with. I can see, I've got eyes. I can see it's better. I can see that there's logic. I can see that they know how to put an arm wringer on properly. I can see that they're not doing all these stutter steps and talking with each other while making eye contact to make sure that they're ready for the next spot that they pre-planned out and worked through 18 times. It's like suspending disbelief years ago was not a problem. These days, it's a performance art in comparison.
Yeah, I'm going to give this point because this is my pet peeve with everything. And this is something that if you're not able to remember it, the writer, the booker, Vince, one of the agents remind you of this. When Bret and Roddy were doing that promo, and Roddy started off, you could tell he was taking jabs, but he was acting like everybody was fine, that we were all family, and he just kept saying it, and then he wanted to pinch Bret's cheek, and it got real serious real quick. And then Piper turned like bipolar into the other half of the bipolar personality, got really intense and mean, and then basically Hart came out as, just basically determined like Bret would, gets into the ring. Piper came out like and you had asked, do you think they just did that promo right before that? That's an excellent question. You know why? Because it carried over. The bridge to the match from the promo are the entrances. And what was Piper doing? He didn't do his standard, hey, when my music hits and it goes to the third bass beat, I got to put the arm up. Now I got to do this. You don't know me. Then I got to do this. Then I go to the apron and do this. Piper had a look on his face like, you know what? You peed me off, and now we're going to fight. I knew that it was going to be like, even him walking to the ring, I had anticipation because I'm like, are they going to jumpstart it? Are they going to fight? Who's going to throw the first punch? I've already seen the match, and these thoughts came through my mind as we were watching it. That doesn't happen today. It's literally a choreographed dance to the ring, no matter what the situation is. And let's look at it this way. Chad Gable literally got murdered, was bleeding from his temple. Everybody's destroyed or murdered, in the gorilla position by the Wyatt Six. The next week he wrestled and won his match, and Triple H did his enjoy the show, where he said, yeah, he made a great recovery. So you're just making it a joke. And if you make it a joke, why you get mad when we laugh at it? That's what Bret's referring to, that you're trying to create these movies, but you don't have the foundation of the actual tenets of professional wrestling.
I think people's argument, and I do hear this, is like, hey, you know it's not real. Just enjoy it. But you know what? I know what else isn't real is every film and every TV show that isn't a documentary or the news or something.
Well, even documentaries aren't real anymore.
Well, yeah, exactly. They're not. I mean, for the most part, it all constructs a narrative, but at least they attempt to make them real. And that's all you want. Like, imagine if you're watching the latest Star Wars and then the green screen overlay just cuts out and, it's not real. This is fine. We'll just leave it in and we'll just move on to the next thing. Just ignore that. Just ignore that gaping plot hole, or ignore the fact that they messed up their lines and started slapping themselves on the back and then tried again. It's that hard these days. They make it so difficult with social media and everything else, and just not taking things as seriously. I mean, some people do, but by and large, they don't.
Well, that's the thing. The identity of the show, the identity of the brand, of the promotion, of the company, you can't have a tale of 2 or 3 shows within one episode. What you're saying, I watch one thing where these people are taking it seriously, and I'm like, wow. And then I look at the other 7 segments, and I'm like, this is just like a High School Musical or something. It doesn't, there needs to be identity to everything. Like you just talked about WrestleMania 8 with Piper and Bret. Dude, I saw the pain on your face because you were like, man, this is kind of sad to watch. It's an end of an era. And you rattled off all these names that left after WrestleMania 8. That's a memory. Those are moments they created. You have an emotional connection to their characters. We can't even remember. When you tell me, we're going to do a what went wrong on this thing that happened on Monday for about 5 seconds, I'm like, well, let me remember. I watched it. That's 2 days ago.
We could go on. Lack of turnover in pro wrestling, which I think is a major issue. I think there's a major issue with what you said before as well, with, the whole ultra choreographed entrances that everyone does. I mean, you could do everything from, let's pick the most obvious ones, from CM Punk or AJ Styles, who has to flip the hood, and, or an old one like Batista, where he'd do the thing with the, the machine gun style pyro. But do you know who does it even worse? Is all the women. All the women have to have their own little thing, because they all learn in NXT. You learn you have to do this first, then you go to the ring, then you have your second pose for the fans, then your opponent's music. Aside from the fact that it's all from the exact same playbook, which I know Triple H has been quoted as saying you have to play from the WWE playbook to be here. If I was a wrestler right now, the first thing I would do is I would tell them I'm absolutely not doing that. And then they say, but everyone does it. Exactly. Everyone does it.
It's the ultimate
so why would I
thing.
do it?
Nobody ran to the ring. They kept trying to tell him to stop running to the ring. Nobody's doing that. And he did it, and he got over.
I'd have no theme music. Why? Everyone's got theme music. I would be the converse of absolutely everything to stand out.
You just actually explained why I had a job for most of the time in my career. I would always try to do the opposite, and not in the opposite in a bad way, but just try to stand out in some way that I can, whether the circumstances or whatever made me have to do that, or I could choose to do it for whatever. But yeah, and that's not the talent's fault. I always say that here. I'm always talent friendly. That's the company. That's the infrastructure. That's the system that makes you, like, you don't think somebody gets jumped in the back. And we've seen this. Somebody gets jumped in the back, or the week before, they get taken away in an ambulance, they get stretchered out. Their music hits. What do they do, James? Ignore all that and do the same entrance as if nothing ever happened. And to me, that's where the disconnect starts, and the disconnect needs to be reconnected and fixed immediately. If you just do that one tweak, I think we would have a little bit more believability in all the wrestling products today.
We can also go on the pacing of the shows. Once again, on Dutch's show that's out now, as I record this, I made mention of, and I didn't time it because it's got the timeline, it's got the little number on the bottom. 28 minutes, not including commercials, for a match to start on Raw on Monday. 28 minutes. That's a huge problem. The pacing's a problem. 4 matches on a 3-hour show. It's like boxing gives you more with the undercard, if they all went 8, 10, 12 rounds, you get way more action.
We show more matches on this show than they do on Raw.
Man, I just like... and the thing is that, like, it feels like I have to watch because it's so boring, but it's my job, and I want to enjoy it. 2 years ago, I'm going to give you a really dated reference, then we could be on this all day. 2 years ago feels exactly the same as 2025. Survivor Series last year, 3 of the 4 people, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, I don't know if it's Jey Uso or somebody else, I've already forgotten, were the same Survivor Series team last year. 3 out of 4.
They're just
on
missing
the
Seth Rollins, that's it.
Yeah. And, whoever the 4th was replaced by somebody else, and for the life of me, I can't remember. And that's another problem, because I can't remember. I watch every show. It feels like when Peter Sellers died, but they kept making Pink Panther movies with the same footage from previous movies. It almost feels like a compilation of what I saw the year before and the year before that. That once again goes on to turnover, that goes on to creative burnout. I asked this of Dutch as well, and once again he proves why he's still got a great creative mind. And I said, Dutch, obviously you wouldn't start with 30 minutes of nothing. What would you start it with and a show with? And he said, I did it for 4 years straight. We always built on the audience, and the first thing I'd do is I'd open up with an angle and make it obvious to the viewer that this angle is going to basically be perpetrated, show little snippets of it throughout the show,
you have
and
a story
pay it off
arc.
at the
you
end.
have to have a story arc for the show, yeah.
He would have a story arc for the show, and then he would have a cliffhanger directed by Sue Spence for the next show. How hard is it? And the thing, he was one guy with an assistant. WWE has, and you can tell I get really wound up with this as well, because wrestling should not be this hard. You have 4,000 writers who couldn't write their way out of a paper bag, apparently, because this WWE in 2025 has been so treading water. It's just the most bog-standard 5 out of 10 booking, and even worse pacing of the shows, which is why people have given up watching it this past year in their droves. And AEW's not faring that much better either. Even worse, you might say. Dutch is one person with an assistant, and he made more creative and interesting stuff every single week for years. It seems that the more people there are on the creative team, it's like a camel is a horse designed by committee. Have you ever heard that phrase?
I have heard that phrase.
That's what it is. There's too many people with too many opinions, and then all you do is just get a base average of them all, and that's your product today. You just get the easy street version of what would have been 10 times better if a Cornette or even a Russo or whatever booker or a Bill Watts in his heyday or Dutch.
How about a wrestling fan and just ask them what they want to say?
How about someone who likes wrestling? How about someone who understands television? Who understands that maybe people go to a wrestling show to pay their $1,000 a ticket to see more than 4 matches, one of which ended after 1 minute 20. Due to injury, fine. But guess what? Injuries happen. What if 2 injuries happened in the same week? Not unheard of. So then you would have had 2 matches for $1,000 a ticket. Man, it winds me up. And it's so easy to fix, and they won't.
You want to make you madder right now? We haven't discussed...
Well, I'm not recording.
We haven't discussed... I haven't been recording the whole time. We got to do it all over again. No, we didn't really cover it here. And I'd love to. It would be a hell of a thumbnail for you. Triple H and WWE were talking about employing AI to write the show.
Yeah.
And they took steps back. No, we didn't really mean that, but they are definitely trying. They're going to try, if they haven't already, to use AI to write the wrestling shows, which is like, are you just keeping the writers around as the sounding board or deflection panels, the bad guys? Because that's all they're really there for. So you can't get the Vince, you can't get the Hunter, you can't get to the person behind the curtain. But yeah, they've talked about AI, and I have no doubt when Saudi Arabia buys this product either Royal Rumble this year or WrestleMania 43 at the latest, we will have AI writing.
I'm just putting into ChatGPT, so AI. One sec. Create a wrestling storyline that would feature Stevie Richards returning to WWE. Who
No,
would he
don't
feud with?
you hit enter on that. No, you don't know me.
That's long since gone. Okay, right, I'll do the
say?
voiceover for you. In fact, do you know what? No, I can't do it at the moment. I can't switch screens because we do it. After years away, Stevie Richards returns to WWE portraying an evolved version of his classic right-to-censor persona. A self-righteous reformer, but this time more grounded, more serious, and with a hint of cult leader menace. He claims he's back to fix the broken morality of WWE. He positions himself as a veteran who sees the modern product as disrespectful, reckless, and lacking discipline. There's more, but I'm not going to go through it. There's a lot more. Oh, do you know who it's decided that you should wrestle?
You raised my stress level just with this concept of going back. Hey, it's a good. That's a great. That's better than any writer that ever worked with me outside of Jamie.
Dude, do you know who it says you should feud with?
Who's that?
LA Knight. And here's why it says. I'll do the voice. LA Knight represents everything Stevie hates. Loud, cocky, crowd-pleasing swagger. Stevie positions himself as the antidote to attitude-driven stars. Fans want to boo Stevie and cheer Knight. Perfect dynamic. God, it's done weekly. Weekly, the mission. God, it's written an entire month's worth of stuff.
Right,
J.D. McDonough, Tyler Bate are involved
wasn't so bad for Hunter. Okay, Hunter, you were right.
There you go. So, yeah, anything else to add to it?
No, that idea didn't have enough Triple H in it.
I cut out the Triple H references. Oh my goodness, mate! I hadn't realized how much I'd written for that.
Book an angle between Stevie Richards and Triple H, and then it'll just come back. You just had the weekly thing, and it'll just say, Stevie says something about Triple H. Triple H comes out. Triple H wins.
Okay, then.
Oh, you're going to do it?
Returning Stevie Richards versus Triple H.
I'd be like Matt Cardona. I'm back. And at the end, Triple H will pedigree me and say, he's gone.
If they can change your name to Zach Richards as well. You remember him.
They'll call me Troy McClure. And I'll just
Triple H appears to address a locker room morale issue. Triple H is in the ring discussing change leadership and the future of WWE. A dark siren hits, not full right to censor, but an ominous modern remix. Lights flicker. A suited, stoic Stevie
Your
Richards
remix of a siren.
walks out.
I love it.
Yeah. There you go. Richards targets people close to Triple H. Richards reveals evidence of what? Backstage footage of Triple H burying... Oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. Week 3, Richards reveals evidence, backstage footage, interviews and commentary from past years of Triple H burying Stevie's work, mocking right to censor, or not giving Stevie screen time. Richard claims backstage politics held him down. You took years off my career, quote. I'm taking years off yours. Man, ChatGPT's doing great.
They are. I'm sorry, Hunter. Now, what you just proposed is way more weeks of a storyline than Hunter would want to work with.
Oh, man.
The extent of my work with Triple H was him thinking I was Shawn Michaels getting out of a car in Washington, D.C., and him and Batista beating me up.
We need to rewatch that.
Yes.
Or watch that. We do need to. Okay, everybody, it is that time of the week again, but this time it's not what went wrong, it's what went right, and once again, it is a Bret Hart-centric one. I think he's the most famous person who ever did the front turnbuckle bumps, but we've got a couple of videos to compare and contrast as well. So, Stevie, tell us what went right and how to do a front turnbuckle bump. Have you ever taken any of these, in fact?
Well, I've tried to, James, and we're testing out the green screen, by the way. Thank you for Chris for trying to key this out. We had some production meetings about it. I've taken it, but I'm telling you right now, and when we watch Bret, and especially Dolph in this, my goodness, I'd do whatever he wants to do, but it is. Now, the setup is obviously going to be the whip. The psychology is not every time that you get whipped into a turnbuckle are you going to turn around and take the back. That's where Bret makes it famous. Now, what I will say here, just a little bit of what went wrong within the what went right. Watch Shawn. Actually, I take it back. I'm wrong. The perfect thing to do. Now, if you're just going to whip somebody in and they're going to take a regular buckle to turn, usually you just whip them and that's it. When you want to make sure they kind of take a bump without turning, an uncontrollable bump like the turnbuckle bump to the chest like Bret takes, you need to lean in, go downward, and almost some people take a face bump that they got extra momentum that doesn't give the opponent enough time to turn and protect themselves by taking the back against the turnbuckle. Shawn does that. Look, down the one knee, and that enables Bret, or does not enable Bret, enough time to turn and take his back against the turnbuckle. What I love about the way Bret does it, do you notice he takes it? That's real whiplash, by the way. Right here. I mean, it's not fake. He's running with all his might. What I love about Bret's bump is this. It's like he's frozen in time, staggers, and falls back. It's not like he's taking a back bump. It's like the turnbuckle is knocking him back onto the mat. It's just amazing. That's awesome. All right, here he goes again against Hunter. Let's see if Hunter does it. Let's see here. Look at Hunter. Hunter does a great job right here. Do you see what he's doing when he whips him? He literally throws his body in this direction right here. And he takes the back. But he sells it like he got whipped extra. So we're mainly, Bret's the expert at the turnbuckle bump as far as the front turnbuckle. But I think Bret, in my belief and what I viewed, is the best turnbuckle bumper, front or back, side. This includes like when he was slid under and he hit the post at King of the Ring against Razor. Dude, that we got to watch that match. It's one of the best you'll watch. But look at this. You notice how Bret, no matter what bump he takes, there's always a floating stagger out of that, like he's frozen and then he drops and sells it right there. Hunter might have the best way of throwing somebody. Look at this. Hunter looks like he's going to take the Rey Mysterio splash bump in that direction. Just can't get, oh man, so good. Here's a question. Just because Bret has obviously had strokes and some trauma and stuff like that, do you think these turnbuckle bumps, the whiplash, have given him mini concussions, house shows, TV, paper? Because he really throws his head back after that whiplash.
Yeah, definitely.
We're not
connecting,
connecting the accusations with that, but I'm saying, of course, like it's a lot of head trauma, a lot of whiplash, a lot of your brain. You don't need to get punched or hit. It's literally just to me, that's like if you rear end somebody in a car crash and you get, or you're in the other, in the front and you get that whiplash. That's what it feels like or looks like to me. Oh, Mr. Perfect house show bump. That's awesome. Is that Toronto or Boston?
Yeah, that's Toronto because it's that angled thing.
Same stagger bump there. Very nice. Oh, Davey Boy. Bulldogs versus Hart Foundation. Oh, that's a rough one. Dude, that ring, watch the ring not move at all when it passes Jimmy Hart. He bounced off the mat. The mat just stayed like that. Andre Hogan, WrestleMania 3 mat right there. Wow.
-4 stars, I'm sorry, it was.
Him and Taker. Now, what I really like, Taker's bigger than him, so you can think, well, Taker can just whip him into the turnbuckle, take the bump, not a big deal. Look at the lack of space. In other words, Taker followed him and cut the ring off right here. And once again, if you don't give somebody enough time or room to turn to take the back buckle. That's what should happen. But the guy whipping him can't just whip him from all the way back in the corner and then he runs into it himself. This is the level of realism that Bret embraces when it comes to this. Really great job. Oh, wow. This is the Spectrum, isn't it? That logo right there.
Did you ever go to the Spectrum?
The one time with the Bruno thing. Remember, I was like, why isn't David San Martino coming out to help Bruno? I was traumatized. Ivan Putski. Wow. Now, you notice Bret started to get distance with the bump after the turnbuckle as time went on. Man, Ivan Putski. Oh, Hayabusa.
Hakushi. No, Hakushi.
Hayabusa's the other one. This is the match that saved his job. Remember, he was on the bubble, and then they had the in-your-house match, and, like, dude showed out, man. He did a great job.
Yeah, Bret wrestled twice on that show. Once against Lawler as well.
Was that the Kiss My Feet match?
No, that would be SummerSlam.
Okay.
Lawler, I think, won against Bret here, and then they went to SummerSlam, which was the Kiss My Foot match after.
Look at that. I love that part, too. He takes it, then he's trying to hold himself up, but he just kind of collapses down, but he's still holding up. Look at that. The realism of sell, but not trying to completely fall flat or be dead. You know, still be alive and selling. That is a great. Look at the little twist. A little bit of a Terry Funk sell right there, isn't it? A little bit of a, you know, what was that? The Mo from the Three Stooges kind of twisting around.
Oh, the Dick Murdoch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Can't see enough about there. I like that Kevin Diesel ended up, he's already cutting the ring off. You know what I mean? There's nowhere for Bret to go to turn.
Can you slow the Bret one? Because I want to bring up something with how Bret takes it, and you tell me how important it is. He underhooks both ropes and keeps his arms close in. Is that to tense up the chest to be able to take the impact better?
Yeah, you're bunched up like this. So you're doing that because he's running full force for real into the turnbuckle. And your hands are right there. So even if you don't want to bounce off and take the back bump and you want to peel down, your arms right there, you're going to slide. Or when Bret takes the back buckle like you saw, he comes out, grabs the ropes and rives to the side to where you can see that he's contorted in a way. Yeah, definitely. Look at the little split that Kevin's doing right there. That's impressive. All right, we know you're a better athlete.
In those leather trousers, man, as well. That's a dangerous split to do.
Looks like the end of a yoga
Tom
routine.
Jones. Yeah. You must have seen that Tom Jones clip.
Tom Jones. I know who that is. I didn't see the clip.
Oh, it's a famous one. Yeah, he split his trousers.
Oh, geez.
Leather trousers, man. It's dangerous.
That's another thing Brock did besides the fall for your list. He split his jeans.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There you go.
I totally forgot about that.
Here we go. This was right. Was this WrestleMania with the Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation?
If Dynamite's in it, no, because Dynamite didn't wrestle practically, did he? No, Danny Davis is on the outside.
Yeah.
That was a 6-man match at WrestleMania 3.
You're right. It is right. Oh no, it's not WrestleMania. It's in an arena.
It's just the Superstars, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. One of Steiner's. Oh, now Rick is pretty much. Bret's not running. Rick's throwing him in the turnbuckle. Look at he followed him. I love that. You know what I love about that? When Rick did it, that's another little thing that I never did until I saw this, but now I should have done when I wrestled. Usually it's this kind of thing when you want to whip somebody to turn. Rick pushed him straight. Watch his right hand. He literally pushed him into the turnbuckle. See that? Rick didn't change his body angle on that. Really great. Is he going to take a turnbuckle bump backstage?
No, I think that's his son. There we go. So, would you like to see the Owen Hart one? There's only one there.
Have one right here.
I just thought, yeah, do it. Because you've not seen this yet.
Oh, Vader might have had something to do with that. Let's back that up.
The thing is, because Owen's like, what, 4 inches short than Bret, and it looks like he goes chin first almost.
He got thrown.
He still does the...
He took the hot shot, the throat bump. No, he totally... Yeah, and see what Vader did? This is the mistake. He's not following him. Vader's always just kind of whipped you from the corner and then ran with the splash. But, I mean, he didn't get caught in the throat, but okay, that Bret's going to get mad. That might be better than Bret's. I think he got knocked in his face. I think he got knocked out, where he was like, oh, you ever do, we've done it in wrestling. Like, you know what, that'd be cool, blah, blah, blah. Not even gauging like how much it's really going to knock the wind out of you or knock the you-know-what out of you. And that's the face Owen has right here. That's like, oh, I regret everything. And there he goes, off camera.
You can see when Vader like is just whipping him. So if you just rewind it to just before Vader lets go his arm, Owen's got a real face of determination on him, where he's just look at that. He's determined to go in that.
He got a real problem with the turnbuckle. That turnbuckle is his Bill Goldberg. Mm-hmm. Oh God. Yeah, I didn't watch that before. You make me watch stuff live. That's definitely there. So, but this one here, Dolph Ziggler, man, I don't know. This is definitely something here where, based on this and the finish, bring the guy back to the main roster. He's amazing. This and Spike for the finish, just incredible. Now, the thing is, when you're saying, how does Dolph Ziggler do it without making it real? How does he fake it? How does he work it? He doesn't. He's somebody that I'm worried that his bump card, when I think it's up, he still takes bumps like this. You know what I mean? So I just can't get over. I can't get over how good he is with this, man. In slow-mo, it's even rough to watch. Watch. Boom. Now, he did get thrown. The chin hit the turnbuckle on that. Look at that. He's completely eating the turnbuckle as we look at this slow motion. Oh, I mean, there's no question. That's a real turnbuckle.
Hey, here's hey. I didn't mean to sound like that.
Dude,
the ropes seem... Yeah, well, I was going to say, the ropes seem either more loose, or he's just going in it even harder.
No, they're not loose. This is Dolph Ziggler attacking the turnbuckle and the ropes, and this is straight up a throat punch with the turnbuckle. So who's the best? Bret's obviously the best, consistently do it for years and decades. But I have to say, man, I put Dolph Ziggler a very close second based on just his general bumping ability, but also the fact that this dude he's more physical with himself than his opponents. He bumps with anger, furious, they would say, I guess, in Pulp Fiction. He is somebody who attacks his own bumps in a way. And I hope he stays healthy. I mean, he looked amazing. He's in the best shape I've ever seen him, but he's not somebody that shies away from any physicality in wrestling.
I did my best to find the footage, and I couldn't in the limited time I had. Dutch said that he used to take turnbuckle bumps as well, but he would do the same thing, underhook the ropes, but he said he would do something different that all of those three would do, is that he would hook the ropes, take the impact on his chest, and then he would stay there. So he would almost lean into the ropes and milk it for as much as it possibly, could be milked for. It's like, how long would you wait there for? I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes.
Oh man!
But I found that interesting. Is that's what he did? He, instead of taking a bump, he would stay there and clutch onto the turnbuckle.
Very cool. Thank you so much. This is why we talked about earlier. When I see that, it brings back so many memories of everything, and then that's why it makes, outside of Dolph Ziggler and a couple other things, makes the current product, modern wrestling, so hard to watch.
So, Stevie, since you've got the green screen up, we might as well do the final what went, and it is what went wrong. This comes from WWE RAW this past Monday. Penta versus Solo Sikoa in the Last Time Is Now tournament. Quarterfinals. This was. They both advanced from the first round. And this match ended up getting called off after about 4 minutes 20, only to accommodate the commercials, because this match actually went about 1 minute 20 before Penta got injured. It's off a very pedestrian move. Stevie, what the heck went wrong here?
Well, thank you, James. And first and foremost, I hope it's not a serious injury. I hope it's something that he has no time off, that he can continue, because he's in the mix now. He's in the mix, and he's really doing some of his best work. So let's talk about what went wrong. Let's talk about the setup. The setup is obviously Penta up here, Solo in front of taller Tonga. We call him taller Tonga.
Yeah,
so
near enough.
Basically, it's going to be a hurricanrana, a running hurricanrana. He goes in this direction. Then when he grabs him, Solo will take a front rolling bump as Penta goes this way with that. I know this in theory and from watching, because I've never done this move, and probably I would break every bone in my body. So Penta's much, much better even getting injured than I could ever hope to be. So let's play it in full speed, go, and right there. Now, you can tell that it's a very light hurricanrana, because he barely scissors Solo and lets him take his own bump. That's not the part that we're looking at right now. It looked very pedestrian from here. So the setup is, from here, he runs, gets a running start, and then just lets Solo take his own bump. But of course, we're looking at Penta. We think he's selling right now. We think he's selling. We're not sure. They go to commercial, correct? Come back with the replay that we're about to play right here. Here's the better angle. Once again, set up, basically jump off here, do the hurricanrana. Solo takes the bump. Let's go slow here. Everything looks good. Right there. Because it's not Solo coming down. That's why I really wanted to emphasize that Solo is not like kind of hindering Penta's backflip to clear the hurricanrana. Now, could this be a height issue? That's where I think it goes wrong. Whenever you do a move like this in this style, it's very important in a way to be shorter than the person you're doing it to. That's why Rey Mysterio can do these kinds of moves to a lot of people. He clears everything. Penta's much taller. Dare I say it, is he just as tall, if not taller, than Solo? Because Solo's a pretty
Near
short
enough.
guy.
I think Penta's build is 6 foot.
So we look at it right here, frame by frame. Usually right here, you need somebody to be taller, whether they're taking the bump themselves or not. And of course, do you think a lot of this has to do with, James? This right here. Doing it on the floor, those taut, tight mats, as opposed to a ring that has a little bit of bounce to it. I think that might have something to do with it. But what I think happened is, when he came down, that shoulder jammed forward. That left shoulder just kind of came out of the socket, because afterwards, he couldn't even move that arm, raise it. It was tight. He was mad. It was a very real, organic reaction of an athlete that gets hurt. I'm mad. I'm going to be figured out of everything. You get all these things running through your mind, but I definitely think it could be a regular shoulder separation, an AC joint separation. I hope to God it's not a rotator cuff, because that's the worst of it. Dislocated shoulder is one thing. AC joint, maybe collarbone. But man, if you tear your rotator cuff, you're out for a year or more. Because like if we...
Let me give you this.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. A couple of people wrote this when I did the video yesterday, and I'm going to quote the Gabagool who commented on my video. He said, Penta's also said that the muscle in his arm and shoulder were disconnected somehow from a prior injury and needed surgery to correct it, but opted out due to the heal time. This was a while back. So it could have been an extension of that prior issue never healing correctly. So apparently he's had issues with his left arm and left shoulder beforehand as well. So this could be a re-aggravation. And at this point, if it's happened a second time, might WWE insist that he had the surgery?
Yeah.
Could miss out on a WrestleMania payday or something.
Yeah, I think so. And you said in the video too, I feel bad for his brother because his brother is supposed to win the tag belts with Andrade. Obviously, the health is number one concern, and I'm sure Ray Phoenix feels the same way about his brother Penta. But you want to talk about a guy through no fault of his own, as you said, just keeps, okay, that's gone, can't do anything with you. Then they were supposed to get them back together, correct? Now they got
yeah.
So maybe, but it could be.
It was going to be on AAA as well. Big match with Dominic Mysterio and El Grande Americano. That's not happening now. And Ray Phoenix was going to win the tag titles with, supposedly, Andrade before he did his thing and basically got himself fired.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like he's got the worst luck of anyone who hasn't been injured this year.
Yeah, but here we go with Penta right here. You can see the frustration in his face. Just waxed the guardrail, and his arm is literally at his side and pinned to his body. So we may have, just my thought, I think it's a shoulder injury, but a lot of times you can tear your bicep based on something that happens in the upper shoulder, and it just tears your bicep. It could be both, and that would be really, really catastrophic. A tear in the arm and a tear in the shoulder, one or the other. I'm hoping, and it sounds so crazy to say, I'm hoping he just dislocated his shoulder or something that can just heal with rest. This could be a great opportunity, by the way, to basically say, how should I say it? Have vignettes with Penta for a few weeks, then have vignettes with Penta and Ray Phoenix as he's ready to come back after whatever injury, even if it's just for a few weeks. Repackage them, show them vignettes, go back to their home, talk about things, whatever it might be. This here, Penta could come back more over than what he came in at.
Can you go to the beginning, the live feed of it happening? Because I want to ask you a question. So if you just play it through slowly, yeah. Because originally you said the Hurricane Rana was really loose, so Solo could take his own bump, which is fair enough. But do you think it was so loose that just that kind of a tiny bit of a slip, a bit of a lowering, so when Penta tries to break his fall with his arm there, that's how he ends up jamming it? Because it doesn't look like much, even in slow-mo.
Yeah, I you know what? That's a great point. Because usually whenever I've taken it, I've given somebody like a good base. And I've actually resisted and grabbed the legs, let them kind of float over and clear, and then I take the bump. If there's anything here, I would say that Solo taking his own bump and even taking it a little off time from the Hurricanrana, that's what's there. I think it was definitely too loose, and I'd rather have somebody grab my legs, let me take it over, and then when I'm clear, then I take, like, for instance, he took this kind of bump. So as you take this kind of bump, let's go to the replay here. So as he's taking this bump, I would hold on to Penta, let him go through, and then when he's through, I roll. The other thing happened here, Solo rolls, and Penta's not even cleared yet. He kind of, it's so loose. If you hold on to the legs and you're high towards the pelvic region, if you're taller or smaller, should I say, because Penta's taller, it gives his head a chance to clear around. Then essentially, he's almost taking the bump at the same time as me, a flat like face bump, and I'm taking the rolling bump. So that's an excellent observation. I believe there needed to be more resistance on Solo's part to make sure he can clear. And then we are, you know what? I don't understand this, like the Ridge Holland Big E thing, a ton of other things. Why do people with different heights not have enough awareness for the match to realize like a double backdrop? I've seen people do double backdrops that are 4 or 5 inches in different height. You know what I mean? That's the first thing I look at, like, oh, you're too tall, I'm too short, I'm too tall. It's just not going to work.
Solo is billed at 6'2".
He doesn't look anywhere near that height.
No?
Penta looks a little taller than him in some regard.
Yeah, Penta's billed at 6 foot, Solo's 6'2", so Hey, you can give your own heights. What can I tell you?
Hey, what are you, a height smartass?
Hey, Adam Cole was 6 foot at one time.
No, I was
Ring of Honor,
6'3"
by the
one
way.
time, but the neck surgery took care of that. And I don't want that for Penta. Once again, we talked about Penta in the past. I was always a huge fan of his work. I loved his match with Kenny Omega where Jericho was the Sky. No, was that? He wrestled and then Jericho came out in Chicago, disguised as Penta after the match, correct?
Was that pre-AEW? Like one of the pre-AEW All-Ins?
That was the All In, the not AEW.
Yeah.
That was All In Chicago, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
They had a
think
great
that's
match.
right.
Penta and Kenny Omega had some great chemistry.
Did you ever watch Penta in Lucha Underground?
Yes, I did. He wrestled Chelsea Green on one of those episodes.
I think he
He
did,
gave her
didn't
the
he? Yeah.
Mexican Destroyer, yeah.
Man, that was a weird show.
It was very
Weirder contracts, apparently.
yeah, I heard, yeah, but the production, that's where all the money went, not to the wrestlers, right?
You know what the funny thing about Lucha Underground is that they got right somehow. Is that, what was he called? Dario Quaid, or whoever, he was like the evil GM. And like, as evil as he was, the most important thing to him was to put on a good show for the fans and to make more money. I was like, man, that's like the most honest promoter in the world. They should bring that back one day. Right, our last bit of news, and then, as a bit of a rarity, we're going to actually have a little game at the end of this episode as well. But before we get to the game, AJ Lee, crazy fan. So, recently a fan, and this is a different fan, had covertly filmed CM Punk and AJ Lee going into their hotel and basically telling people what their hotel was, and also, you know, showing them getting food, and then he posted it for reasons unknown, I don't know. But that was like one thing, but then something, you know, far more insidious was this fan, I guess. Put it this way, he's got Chris Benoit tattoos on him.
Really?
And
Oh my
like
God.
hashtags of Chris Benoit is innocent and that kind of nonsense. So, you know, just like absolute mutant of a weirdo. Anyway, this delusional nutbag who's absolutely obsessed with AJ Lee, you should see his timeline. It had 20 pages of AJ Lee photos and whatnot from one day. That's all it was. So, I mean, like, dangerous, basically. Dangerous level of obsession. He went to a convention in New York. AJ Lee was there. He got a photo with AJ Lee. That all went absolutely fine. And then he went back home, I guess, to whatever bunker he lives in, and then uploaded said photo to an AI video generator, and then changed it so the photo became a video of him and AJ Lee kissing, and has since been saying that he won't take it down, despite the fact that AJ Lee has personally tweeted him and said, this is really disrespectful, take it down, and he won't. And like the odd fellow weirdo has said, oh, you know, fans' rights. What about fans' rights and how this is fine, it's just a nice tribute and stuff. Anyway, it's all bananas. It's just, these are the kind of people who you just don't bump into in real life, but exist on like some other realm that sort of crawl out from under the woodwork to... These are the kind of people, Stevie, I guess you dread at conventions, I suppose.
Well, I would dread it in real life as my real name, Michael. Anybody would dread that kind of obsession to the point of being very unhealthy and then hourly putting all that stuff up. If you put up a picture, now, however many posts or whatever in one day, that's disturbing enough. And then creating AI of that type of thing can be and then doubling and tripling down. And then you had shown people responding and saying, like you said, fans' rights, let the guy have to pay tribute to her or do whatever. This is where, you know, it's scary enough for a guy with an obsessed fan or anything like that. But for a girl that barely weighs 100 pounds, that basically now she's going to have to hold her breath, or maybe not, maybe it traumatized her enough to say, and ruin it for the good fans out there, to say, I'm not doing any more signings or conventions, at least for a while, because God knows what they're going to do. Now, this might also put in some sort of rules or maybe legislation, go that far, who knows, to say when you're dealing with a public figure or anybody in general, you take a picture, you can't do that. Maybe the conventions will do that, or the vendors, you know what I mean? You say by agreeing to take this picture, coming to the convention, that you will not use this for any kind of AI type of situations of kissing or sexual content or nature or something like that. I don't know. It's a slippery slope no matter what. But at the core of it, AI or not, there are obsessed fans out there. This is the thing when you, what's fan short for? Fanatic.
Fanatic. Mm-hmm.
You can be a fanatic and be obsessed with something or somebody to a certain point, and then it becomes very, very unhealthy. Even obsession in itself can be very unhealthy. So, and they do have the person, basically, if you want, you know, you have a lot more precedent than I do in your mind. The thing that reaches out to me and hits me over the head with the rubber mallet punch is, what about the guy who showed up at the Performance Center multiple times and didn't he have a gun too?
Mm-hmm. I know for a fact they gave him a restraining order.
Yeah, this was time and time and time again until it almost got to a pretty deadly level.
There's the Sonia Deville one, that's the most famous recently, where the guy got like 15 years. Looked weirdly like Hornswoggle. Where he basically had like a kidnap kit with him. And did he actually get into the house or not?
No, I think it was outside the house. It was like 2 a.m. or something like that. Then they called the police on him. And he drove from North Carolina, right, to Florida.
It's just, but the thing is, you know how it works. You must have seen all these, these like love bombing fakes, pretending to be wrestlers or Hollywood stars or celebrities in some way, who all of a sudden, a really famous one that happened just yesterday that made the news over here, Jason Momoa, like a woman in her 70s was convinced that this fake account was Jason Momoa, and he was going through a divorce, he just needed some money, and over the course, got out of it about $100,000.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And it's like, hey, some people are incredibly stupid. Some people are incredibly naive. Some people are basically born to be taken advantage of. And I'm not victim blaming here, but some people are just like that and need extra protection, I guess. But then there's also people out there that don't have, as you would say, the checks and balances in their life to stop them from getting this obsessed, or from not having an idea of what societal norms are, like this AI photo. And I saw some responses to my video saying, it's not that bad, you're acting like you did X, Y, Z. It's like, yes, it is that bad, in fact, because you said before, it's a slippery slope. It's like, and this is really, bear with me here, this is like when, back in the day, it always used to be a joke where some weirdo would steal some lady's undies off the washing line, right? They used to be like, oh, that's funny, haha. No, that's now taken extremely seriously because it's almost like a gateway drug to more serious offences. And I look at this as a gateway action to more serious offences. That's just how I see it.
I would look at, this obviously isn't, just in my estimation, from seeing patterns of behavior, this is not a new thing that this type of fan does. You know what I mean? Like, what's the history? What's the pattern? How long has this person been stalking AJ Lee for months or years? Is there something going on? I watched the show on Prime. You should see it, everybody else.
Sorry. When you say stalking, I have to correct there. Being obsessed with. There's no allegations of stalking.
No, I'm not making allegations of any of that. I'm just saying, is there any kind of pattern or history with the behavior? I watched the show on Prime called Lazarus, where they had that guy. There was a guy in the show that was taking women's underwear. And they were like, he was like, that's all I was guilty of. Well, he turned out to be a murderer too. So there you have it. You know what I mean? Just very much, no, we're not saying any of that, but AJ Lee has her head on a swivel. CM Punk has a head on his swivel for his wife. Because who's to say now every time she does a signing, public appearance, goes to the gym, goes to the hotel, now we got to look, or we got to get her security, which I really think we have Rhea Ripley. We have other people, other women especially, Liv Morgan. that have basically been in uncomfortable situations with fans. When will WWE, at least for the women, get them viable security, have checks and balances to protect the talent?
Well, they can only do this for like airports and stuff in the arena, but this was a third-party booking, so that wouldn't be, I would suggest, WWE's remit to provide security for AJ Lee.
Well, the talent might not like this, but take away third-party bookings. I mean, what's the risk versus reward? How much money? I know she's kind of part-time right now, but there has to be some level of protection for her. And if it's on the vendor or on her or Punk to do it, you know, everybody's like, well, it's just a guy who took a picture. It's just a guy who uploaded an AI thing of them kissing or doing whatever. You kind of got to lean on the side of being cautious and wary and being proactive with any of that. There was, forget the show. I was like My Sister Sam or something like that. Some sitcom star. This guy was super obsessed with her for years and years and years and ended up, you know what, in the end. And she's no longer with us.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the interview with Prince Andrew, the really famous one where he claimed
he doesn't sweat?
Yeah, so the interviewer is called Emily Mathis, and she had a stalker for years as well. And that actually comes up in a very royal scandal, the 3-part series. It's on Prime over here. I don't know where it is in the States, but it may well be on Prime as well. It's a great little mini-series. Old Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Mountbatten, anyway. Just with the Sonia Deville case, according to prosecutors, he's called Thomas. I don't know if that's a surname. I can't find his full name anyway. Was obsessed with the wrestler. They say his obsession turned to anger, and he drove from South Carolina to the Bay Area with a knife, zip ties, and duct tape with the plan of kidnapping the wrestler. And things like that is worrying. And the women are just, once again, and you said this before, it's bad enough for the guys. It's got to be worse for the women by multiples.
We're at a point now with AI and all this stuff where we got to be very careful to basically, I'm not saying you shut everything down. I don't know the answer. I do know the answer could be just being very careful, being very aware, never traveling alone if you can help it, especially if you're one of these female wrestlers, because they keep seemingly getting caught, like at an airport all alone surrounded by fans or in a hotel surrounded by fans. That's on WWE. And those times that it happened to Rhea and Liv was on WWE time, was in a public space where you need to employ somebody, or even if it's just the locker room, policing itself and protecting fellow members of the locker room. Listen, this guy just might be whatever and just being in love with her and being harmless enough, but there's too many times where it doesn't turn out in the end to be so harmless. I never outside of my obsession with the production equipment here and everything, I've never seen harmless obsession in that way, in that category. Have you? It never turns out well.
Hey, whatever you and the equipment and the AI do on your own time is your own business, buddy.
Oh, we're writing Raw and SmackDown, pal.
Yeah, man. Stevie's returning, attacking Triple H for 4 weeks.
I'm cutting his career short.
So
my
mention?
heart goes out to Harry. You know, people can say, sorry to interrupt, first world problems. That's what you get for being a public figure. You can get all those comments as well, right? That's what they asked for. That's what they signed up for. Yeah, having the occasional fan harass you, say, I pay your salary, bother Randy Orton in a gym, do whatever. How many posts in one day? Including this AI image?
20 pages worth. I wasn't scrolling with the wheel.
Wait, you said 20 pages, not 20 posts.
20 pages. I'm talking, I scrolled down, clicking, not the scroll bar, but, under the scroll bar.
Yeah.
Like 20 pages in one day.
I mean, that could be a little bit scary. That makes me scared for her with that.
Mm. Right then. We can't end this show without me claiming that there is a game for Steve.
Is that a pun?
And he actually does know what the game is.
Is that a play on words that you said it's a game?
It is the game.
There.
There you go. And it's kind of... Right, okay, so like a day or two ago, I think we shared this because we've got a WSI group, basically, a few of us. And I shared this with the group, and it was a video profile from Complex that they do trainers, shoes, sneakers, as you would call them, for the most part. And they do a lot of wrestlers. Some AEW as well, but mostly WWE, I think. I think I might have seen Young Bucks on there. But anyway, they've also done like a valuation video of some of the more interesting objects from wrestling history that happen to be in the new Stamford, Connecticut WWE headquarters. And they had 10 different objects that they then put on the screen, estimated valuation. And I wanted to show Stevie these objects and for him to guess, and don't just say like $1 billion per item, a genuine guess of what you think somebody out there has estimated these objects for, price-wise. So you ready?
Sounds like fun. Are you ready? Yeah, you're opening up
do it.
WrestleMania, aren't you? Hey, by the way, I got to find out the new address for Titan Towers because I still got mail up until 2025 at the old one. 1241 East.
Really?
1241 East Main Street, 4th floor, Town Relations.
Good. I think they only moved over the road, so, you know, it won't be too far.
I'm sure that's why I don't get a royalty check anymore. Well, actually, a few reasons, probably. This show being one of them.
We're back. Not that we went anywhere. So here it is. 10 screen grabs and their evaluations that I will reveal onto you. So the beginning portion of the video is just some shelving next to a fully erected, constructed, working wrestling ring in some room.
And by the way, Eddie Guerrero's behind that thing.
He certainly is, in fact. He was probably in WCW when they went that day, in fact, to Nitro. This is D-Generation X's one of their helmets when they went to invade WCW at the Norfolk Scope, was it? I know one of them was at the Norfolk Scope. Somewhere in like April, May of 1998. Stevie, what do you think this mystery... We don't even know who's evaluated. It's probably Triple H put a price on it, for all we know. What do you think they valued the helmet for?
A nice even round number would be $10,000.
$10,000. Is Stevie right? $8,000. Not a bad guess at all.
Thank you.
How about that? Next up. This is amazing, because I was wondering, why have they got this smelly old Halliburton hanging about? It says, I'm not deaf, I'm ignoring you. If I wanted to hear from an asshole, I would have farted. This is Andre the Giant's Halliburton that he carried around for him for years. What do you think?
I'm going to have to go with not such an even number, but a round number of $25,000.
$25,000. Are you near enough? $50,000.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm kind of wondering these valuations. I was going to say 30, but I thought that was way too high. All right, 50. So I guessed 10 and 25, so a total of 35, but we have a total of 58 in reality. In their reality. In their reality. I think this is interesting because, one, I can't imagine anyone wanting it for $50,000, but hey, that's collectors, who knows? Wrestling collectors, generally, I mean, if you're going to compare it to stuff like football cards or baseball cards or Pokemon or not games, but what's worth cars? Something stupid, I don't know. Wrestling merchandise stuff is kind of not that overvalued compared to a lot of other sports, I think, for memorabilia. Well, it depends on this is a one-of-a-kind thing, just like the helmet. So these are one-offs. Or the thing Andre carried around for years might have some kind of sentimental or value to people. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about auctioning my stuff off for that cat rescue. Maybe I should apply the WWE valuations and see.
They'll end up making you pay.
That's true. Hunter would.
To have it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. With this suitcase, though, you kind of have to explain it. It's not obvious what it is. So I think that kind of like makes it overvalued at $50,000. Because, hey, look at this suitcase. Yeah, cool. But then, no, it was on. You kind of have to like give the lore behind it before people go, ooh.
Yeah, those stickers don't quite increase the value for me, especially what they say. By the way, Halliburton's Tony Garea, Halliburton. Hey, look at my Harley Halliburton. You got a Halliburton, I got a Halliburton. We're both giants. But that actually put some PTSD on me because I spoke about Perry in the last episode. Him and Taz used to lay on those Halliburtons. Oh, man, I need help. I need better help.
Next up. This hat and eye arrangement that Rhea Ripley wore at a WrestleMania.
That's tough because it's not like Andre or the big moment for DX. I'd have to go just an even 10,000, but I don't think it's personally worth that. But it's a WrestleMania worn thing, one of a kind. I would say 10.
$15,000, the crown and I don't mean, yeah, that's nowhere near as iconic as anything, really.
15.
In this.
Wow.
Yeah. Next up, Cody Rhodes entrance mask / motorcycle. Do you remember that entrance being kind of not well received whatsoever? I kind of remember people thinking, it's a bit of a weird one.
Which one was this? Not the initial one against Seth at WrestleMania. Was the next WrestleMania?
No, it's this year. It's this year against Travis Scott. And to a lesser extent, John Cena.
That's true. Travis Scott saved that show, didn't he?
Man.
They were on so much momentum after thinking, don't bring out The Rock. We need Travis Scott. Okay, this one, based on the custom look of it and the fact of where Cody's spot was and is, man, I want to say 50, but then I'm comparing to Andre the Giant Halliburton that he carried around for probably decades. I would maybe split the difference, say 40.
Well, this number is going to make you go, whoa! $25,000.
I'm high with that.
Bargain.
It is a custom.
You can be
$1.
You can't be one. What was it? You can't be $1 over. What was the Price is Right rule?
Oh, if you're $1 over, you're disqualified. Yeah.
There you go.
I would just bet $1 for all these. See if I can get them right. See, it's like Price is Right.
The Undertaker's original or one of his original urns from 1991 or so.
100,000.
75,000. Not too.
So I'm on the whole spectrum of undervaluing and overvaluing, but it might even out for me. The total valuation, I might be good.
Next one. A lantern used by Bray Wyatt. I'm not even sure it's like the original lantern or not, but it's a lantern used by Bray Wyatt.
Oh, that's tough. Just on, obviously, rest in peace to Bray. Based on the other valuation, I have to say 25.
I think this one's going to come in a bargain, if I remember right. It's 7,000.
Really?
Yeah, so I guess this is one of the original ones because it says 2013 on it.
That's a very strange thing because I think that the value would go up after he's gone.
But there were so many lanterns. I think that's kind of.
I know, but they can have 16 different DX helmets too, and just say this is the one. Here, pal.
Next up, I don't know how many we've got left. Oh, here we go. We've got 4 more left. Triple H's.
$45 billion.
You're quite close. This is Triple H's original working sledgehammer that he used for the first time ever on a casket, not a coffin, I was nearly going to say coffin, a casket with The Rock inside. I remember this segment very well as a kid, 1999, around May time, I guess. How much for the original sledgehammer?
What was Undertaker's earn again? 75?
Yeah.
$75,001.
$5 grand.
Ah.
Well, hang on. This one's saying 2006 sledgehammer.
See, that's not the original then. So.
Well, they gave a big old story about 1999. Then they're given a 2006 thing. Here's the thing. Triple H did say an interesting story. He said nearly every hammer he used was real. Especially, but occasionally he'd use like a sponge head one.
Cover it with his hand.
Yeah. And anyway, so I remember once when he was like trying to walk out of the ring, and I remember like the wooden thing bowed because it wasn't wood, it was sponge or like a fake material, rubber. But there was also one time, apparently, WrestleMania 17, the greatest WrestleMania of all time, many still say, he went to hit The Undertaker when he was giving him the last ride. And this was a fake sledgehammer. It was a real wooden handle, but the fake head. Somehow, he hit Undertaker so hard that the sponge hammer bit sort of just disintegrated, or it didn't hold the wooden thing, and basically he just jammed the wooden handle right in his head.
Oh my God.
Cut him, split him completely.
Oh. Well, see, Hunter, I could have said 2 cents or 5 cents or whatever. I overvalued it by, what, $70,001. Are you adding everything up?
No.
Okay.
Chris can at the end. Here's an interesting one. This is Buddy Rogers' original World WWF Championship, despite the fact that it has a continental United States motif on the front, because this is a belt that he would wear previously in different territories. Then when he went to the WWF, when it was brand new formed, this was the original world title. How much?
Based on a wrestling collector, I figured this out of everything we've watched already or kind of guessed the value on. This will be the Holy Grail. The actual original belt from like before the Capitol Wrestling days, right? This is way back in those WWF.
No. WWF. Capitol went to WWF. So this is like the initial WWF shows in 63.
I'm sorry. I thought Buddy Rogers was just champ a longer time ago than that. So that's my mistake.
Well, he was the NWA champion before he was WWF champion, I believe. Pat O'Connor, I think he was.
True. I agree. James knows his past history. He's a big fan of wrestling when he wasn't alive, just to remind you from an earlier segment. God, man, I want to say this is the most expensive one at all, but I'm not sure. I have to just go even at 50 grand.
$150,000.
I was going to guess 100, which was still super low, but it's worth. That's a one of a kind. I can see that thing. 53 to 63.
You're not a mad collector, and neither am I about this kind of thing. But like that would be. I would, not just for the monetary value. I would treasure that.
Now you're holding wrestling history, literal wrestling history with that. Yeah, I can appreciate that. And you might think, hey, the belts today are much bigger and they're more gold and they're flashier and everything. But this gives me that big fight feel when I look at the belt.
I know this is a different story, but you know, like Tito Santana, like one of the original Intercontinental Championships before it went to the classic Ultimate Warrior.
The orange leather one with the gold, right?
There was I think it was like a reddy orange one that Morocco had. Then it went to a greenback one. I can't remember which way. Whichever one it was. Anyway, Tito had one of the belts, and they were going to replace the belt. And he saw the old one. He saw like the leather was getting tatty. Threw it away. The original belt he just threw away.
Oh. You never know.
He could have made himself some money there.
Man.
Right.
I was just thinking the way WWE feels, but to me, that valuation is, if you're a wrestling fan, a collector, and you want that, it's one of a kind. And there you go. Yeah, I think that's worth it.
Yeah, he also used to have the circle in the middle. He used to have a picture of Buddy Rogers' face.
I do remember that. So. Hey, by the way, are they actually thinking about selling these, or are these just memorabilia?
They're procuring,
in the building,
man.
Right?
Yeah, I think they've got apart from the archivists, they've got people on the lookout for the one of a kind history memorabilia. So, and I'll say this: you cannot fault Triple H for his love of wanting to actually keep all this. And the display they showed on the Complex YouTube video was just so glossy and glorious how they've presented them all. They're great. We've got two more. Helpfully, I've written Andre the Giant's boots.
I think I could have figured that out by the size of the boot. Thank you, though, James. Sometimes you don't need a visual aid. Well, if the Halliburton went for 50, this got to go for 100.
100,000. 50 grand a boot.
Yeah, but the Halliburton, but he wore these to wrestle. That has to be worth more.
Let's have a look. $120,000. dollars. So from the early 1970s to the early 80s. So I was going to say, surely he would have had loads of pairs of boots, but I mean, it's not like you can just pick it up off the shelf. I mean, you can't pick up wrestling boots off the shelf anyway, but for this size.
Let me ask you this question. It says early 70s to 80s, which obviously does not include WrestleMania 3.
It says 1970s to early 80s. I made the exact same mistake there as well with that.
No, what I'm saying, he did not wear these at WrestleMania 3, correct?
No.
They would have been worth. They would have been worth an
Hulk
easy 150 to 200 if these were the boots he wore at WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, it'd be good if they could ascribe these boots to like a specific match, like the Killer Khan match or something like that.
But he did work Hogan in these boots before. Didn't they have Shea Stadium in Puerto Rico? They worked big shows, stadium shows against each other. I bet he definitely wore them during those.
Yeah, I'd suspect so. If he only had one pair of boots, that is. But, I mean, how many pairs of boots... Not changing them for like color or whatever, but how long would a pair of boots last?
Well, the boots themselves, unless the top and the laces you would replace from time to time, you'd keep that leather as, kind of in good condition as possible, but you change out the soles. You have what they call iron crepe soles. Most soles have tread. These soles are flat. So when you kick, and also for stability and not rolling your ankle and stuff like that, but that's where you would find a shoe repair shop and get new iron crepe soles. So essentially, if you take care, Andre could have had the same pair of boots, but switched out the soles and the laces. And Larry Zbyszko was famous for saying you use parachute cord because it never breaks and you use it longer. So boots can last you a whole career. You can get them reconditioned, new soles, new laces, and that's about it. And then, of course, the insoles, you would replace those as well.
And the last one on the list.
Oh, $14
Triple
billion.
H's skull from one of the WrestleManias.
WrestleMania 22.
He said, oh, well done.
I think, no, there's an WrestleMania where Sasha Banks, or Sasha Bank, as they call her on NFL on Fox, and Charlotte, before they debuted and they were still in NXT, were like the women that took the stuff off of Triple H. I know WrestleMania 22, it might have been there, but he definitely did the throne in the King of Kings and everything then. That's when he wrestled Cena, I believe.
There's at least 5 of these in different designs. Triple H said that he gave one to Kirk Hammett from Metallica as a thank you for Metallica letting him use... I can't remember what he said. For whom it wasn't for whom the bell tolls, I don't think, but it's one of the big songs. So they had a quid pro quo thing going on there, like Vince and Shawn, allegedly. So, realistically, how much do you think this resin skull thing that's perched atop Triple H's head went for?
Now, you said there was multiple ones.
All different designs, but yeah, he didn't only just do this once, I should say. I think there were 4 on the shelf.
I'd still go in the even 50. Now, I want to say 25, but I'll say 50.
$60,000. WrestleMania 30. Was that the one with The Undertaker in the Hell in a Cell?
No, 30 was the one where he wrestled Daniel Bryan on the Open, and then Daniel Bryan won the title. Yeah.
Of course he did. There you go then. You got quite close. Did you get one right?
No, I don't think I got one. I got close. I got within 2,000 of the helmet. I said 10, and then so I think for my over-under, I'm about on par with the total valuation of everything that they have right here. What are we talking about? About at least $500,000 of what we showed, if not more?
Well, boots were 120. The belt was 150, so that's 270 in just 2 items there. 60, so that's 330. Do I have to go through them all?
No, I think we're about 400,000 or 500,000 in.
Okay, 8, 58, 68, 73, 93, 98, 103, 173, 180. Oh God, they make it easy now. 180. 185, 285, 335, 435, 455, $515,000. That's pretty good arithmetic, I think you'll find, Stevie, there.
Thank you. No common core math here, baby.
There we go. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again. We're not doing Survivor Series, are we?
No.
For
no, God,
a review?
No. Please, no.
But we are doing Saturday night's main event with John Cena. Right then. Very good. So we'll have plenty of news to talk about next week with Survivor Series, I'm sure. You know, long after it's out of everyone's consciousness because it'll be out on a Friday, 6 days late. But it doesn't matter. We're not doing 2 shows in a week. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Once again, these shows are out every single Friday on YouTube and all podcast platforms. A fresh clip on the YouTube channel every single day. I have Listmania Wrestling. Please go follow me there. Stevie's got the fitness channel, the Cameo, and we also have the Patreon. Most important of all, that Stevie's now going to thank the Patreon supporters.
Thank you very much, James. I want to thank everybody for watching episode 73 of the Stevie Richards Show. I love doing these kinds of episodes, although the subject matter, but I like still honoring and giving tribute to past and present and hopefully future legends.
And Triple H.
Well, we're fair about Triple H, right? You know, I know he tried some psychology with that sledgehammer. We thought it was going to be much more valued, but I appreciate the fact the guy loves wrestling history. You and I can appreciate the fact. So hopefully we honor wrestling history here every single week. We try to. Thank you for subscribing. Please subscribe, click the bell to get notified. Click the bell to get notified, Philly accent. Right there we go. Speak from your diaphragm. I gotta tell myself that. So also patreon.com/Stevie Richards. Watch alongs every Monday. Show notes, pre-show, which is a show before the show. And of course, as James and I always talk about, my obsession about production equipment in the studio and everything in between. You get to see that all on Patreon. I appreciate you watching the show. Give you a couple, hey, what are you, smart ass? Hey, you're thankful and I'm thankful. Let's have Thanksgiving. Aha. Thank you for watching episode 73. Have a great Thanksgiving that was yesterday, but we're recording the day before. Aha.